Hi, perfect circuiticians. I'm Mylarmelodies, and I want to say that my favourite thing that I got this year is actually from 1998, which is unfortunately 25 years ago, and that's the Nord Micro Modular. Now, this came out just after Generator and Reactor started to be a thing, and is a full sort of DSP synthesizer engine inside a little nondescript red knobby box. You could make all kinds of different synthesizer patches inside the Micro Modular, and you could feed MIDI into them, take them on stage, play them, or you could play them into your sampler and make whole records. Or Tekka did that with this. The question is, can you actually administer it in 2023? And the answer is, why, yes, you can. On this website, Stage Engine, there is a version of the editor, which, if we go here, pa-ching, hello, friend, that would be exactly what this is doing right now. Ace. Step triggering it via M1D1. Look at this. This is a M1 Mac running Ventura, but I am able to control this. It's pretty gnarly. You have to use a completely separate MIDI interface just to do the talking to the device, but with a bit of, eventide on it. It sounds pretty good. And within this playground are just an unbelievable amount of options. LFOs, envelopes, filters, mixers, audio, and all of the interesting control and sequencing logic and other modules so that we could build any number of patches and run them in here, in real time, in hardware, and sample them, or take them out live. Other patches that are nice. Korg Poly 61. Ooh. Wicked. That one's quite weird. Subharmonicon-ish. The person who owned this before me made this one. Very cool. Tons of stuff going on here. Logic, sequences. Just tons. Multi-mode. Of a sort. So you could do so much with the Micro Modular. At the time, it was absolutely mind-blowing. And you might say, well, what's the point? But I like old technology. I love that I can make this work on my modern computer, and I love that this is what some of my musical heroes were using. And there's still wicked tunes to be had out of very old equipment. Actually, that was the best thing I got in 2023. Anyway, the second best thing was the Nord Micro Modular. Not a new thing, an old thing. But yes, thanks for having me, Perfect Circuit. Subscribe to Mylarmelodies on the internet if you want more. Thanks very much, and have a great new year. Bye.
Hey, I'm Belle Reid, an experimental musician who plays trumpet, modular synth, and a whole bunch of other electronic instruments and devices. One of my favorite pieces of gear from 2023 was the Fairfield Circuitry Roger That pedal. Roger That is a super interesting distortion-like effect inspired by the noisy and unpredictable artifacts of radio technology. Something that I personally love about this pedal is how non-linear the front panel controls are. So instead of predictable linear response, these controls seem to have entire little sonic worlds inside of them that you can access with even the smallest of knob turns. You never exactly know what you're going to get. I personally love this kind of surprising interaction in an instrument, and I feel like it's almost an invitation to explore and to listen more deeply. One of my personal favorite ways of using Roger That is as a standalone instrument. Depending on the knob settings, it can make sound all on its own. And since there's a control voltage input, you can actually modulate or sequence the tune parameter, which opens up a huge range of different possibilities. So I've been using this pedal in pretty much all of my recent projects, either as a way of processing things like vocals, synths, and field recordings, or as a standalone sound source to create really crazy, glitchy drums and sound effects. It's great if you're looking for a way to grunge up other sounds, or if you're just looking for an unpredictable source of sonic chaos.
Hello, I'm Robin from Molten Modular, and my pick of the most fabulous module of 2023 is for me the infinitely fascinating Endless Processor. The Endless Processor is ridiculously simple. It really does one thing, but it does it so well and so evocatively that you find you just have to keep using it. You have to find new ways of using it. It creates this background and potentially this foreground. It folds into the backwards of time, and yet it pulls itself through tunnels into the present. It takes a sound and spreads it to infinity. It breathes in the ever-changing, evolving sound that you're pumping into it and just grabs that tiny morsel and makes that the centre of your world. And not only is it simple and fascinating, it's also stackable. It has multiple layers. And then when you think you've stacked up enough and the sound has just become this huge cacophony of sonic potential, you can then turn on another channel and have two of them competing with one another, fighting for your attention, ebbing and flowing, or falling away, or dominating to destruction. So here it is, floating amongst the patch cables, the endless processor. I've got a sequence going into the top here that's filling up the buffer within endless, and at the touch of a button I can grab whatever's there and just smear it to infinity. Build it up into layers. And you don't have to hear what it is that's being captured. You can just have that running through, and you could tell something else to press the button for you, so it can continuously generate, recapture and resynthesize whatever's going through it. It can become the mysterious background behind something else you've got going on. Alternatively, you can give it something a little bit more real. And it also builds up two sides to what you're doing, because it can create this quite alarming amount of sound, this wall, this tsunami that's encroaching upon you, which is amazing, and it builds and it builds, but then you can just drop it away. And in some ways it's the negative that's also quite stunning. From this bedrock of foundation of flowing sounds and timbres, and then to sweep that away, leaving you with the bare nakedness of your sequence or your other bits and bobs. It's a texture machine. It's a cinematic backdrop to whatever it is that you're doing, that's both there brilliantly and not there brilliantly. If that's weird, it's probably meant to be.
Hey, it's Liam Killen. Thanks to Perfect Circuit for having me. And I'm here to feature the OXI One today. In terms of composing and creativity and just having my mind blown, this has been the instrument, the sequencer that's been doing it for me this year. In particular, I've been using matricial mode, which is a specific type of sequencer. And if I hit play, you'll see that it's 4 sequencers in one. You could see all the different playheads here. And each of these sequencers has different pages or parameters to work with. So there's trigger, note, interval, pulses, velocity, octave, gate, trig probability, retrig, as well as glide. I can also change the length of each of these parameters so that they bounce off each other differently from one bar to the next. This is a great way to create something generative or a completely new pattern that you wouldn't have come up with otherwise. To start off with, I've chosen pentatonic minor. I'm also going to change the tempo to 135 BPM. It's been a tempo I've been going to a lot this year. First parameter, I'll throw in some triggers right here. I'm going to change this to a 3-note sequence. That's what that sounds like. I'm also going to just lower this root note to something much lower, so C1. Jumping over to the interval parameter, I'm going to once again change the length of this to maybe 7 notes. I'm just going to add one step in here, or one trigger. Right, so every time that it hits this, it's going up an interval within the pentatonic minor scale. This kind of sounds too much like an exercise. I want to make this a little bit more melodic, so I'm going to choose the note parameter, and I'm going to randomize this. This is what it gives me. I'm going to go over to pulses and throw one of these in there as well. Change the length of this. One last thing I'll do with this sequence though, at this point it's completely generative. I'm going to change the length of this to 32. Right, so now every 32 steps, all of the parameters are going to reset, which creates a melody that's a little bit more digestible. So let's play this now. Voice 1 is already pretty busy, so voice 2 I'm going to keep it a little bit more sparse. Also you'll see the note is a little bit longer, right? I want even more space there, so trigger, I'm going to change the division here to 1/8 notes. Okay, I'm going to add a pulse in there as well. So that's been randomized. Same with velocity to even sparsen this up. Is that a word? Sparsen this a little bit more. Because this is a very sparse pattern, why not make it a longer length? So let's say 64. I'm going to restart the whole pattern. And so this is what we get. 1, 2, 3. Right, so it's even in this instance, it's kind of hard to make out a melody out of this, but it's repetitive enough that I find that it fits more with this pattern as well. And so that's what we get all together with the OXI One. We're obviously just barely scratching the surface here. This is one of many sequencer types on the OXI One. In any case, hopefully this helps you out and hope to see you soon.
Hey there! Thanks for having me back for Best of 2023. My favorite tool this year is the Meris MercuryX. This is an amazing reverb, and since I got it, became part of my pedal board. Not only gives you a lot of algorithm presence in previous pedal of Meris, but it adds some new one. And the possibility with its modular concept are really broad. I also love the fact that they had a pre-delay that can be clocked. So it can be in between a reverb, a delay, and it has also pitch shifting, other effects, chorus, flanger, phaser. It's pretty amazing. So could be your one-stop pedal. Let me give you some example using some preset I just created.